Once and for all, we have prevailed over the SEC. The case has been concluded formally. It is not my wards, but rather the chief liquidity officer of Ripple's. And this is something that can't be ignored. That is going to be the topic of our conversation. In general, the market. Over $60,000, Bitcoin would love to see that, but we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. A second video in which I discuss this topic is going to be my next project. It is necessary for us to get ready for the FOMC meeting that will take place this week. There are a lot of things that are going to happen in the near future that have the potential to alter the general view of the market. However, as of right now, XRP has increased by around almost 8% over the course of the past 60 days. Throughout the past 3 months, it has increased by approximately 20%. I would adore to witness that. When it comes to XRP, here is how the 7-day period looks. Over the course of a single day, it has increased by around 10.76%, which is equivalent to 3.25%. There's nothing insane about that. Moreover, for the 1 month, it was pretty much the same. In general, however, the most important question is what is going to take place at this moment. For the reason that, in the event that you guys did miss it, the case is finished from the Kalo, which is something that we will discuss. Over the course of a considerable amount of time, I have been keeping a record of this. Pay attention, we have been discussing this matter ever since it was first brought up. Even on X, I've discussed it numerous times. My discussion on it can be found on YouTube. At that time, the most important issue that we were focusing on was addressing the amount of false information and hatred that was prevalent within the XRP community. Take, for example, Bank of America and Citi. There are a great number of them. On the other hand, JP Morgan is never punished more than a slap on the wrist. As a result of proved fraud involving billions and billions of dollars, as well as manipulation of markets, commodities markets, and treasury markets, penalties of $100 million have been imposed. That is why I stated not to mention that the SEC caused retail investors to suffer damages totaling $15 billion upon the announcement of the XRP case. I mean, it seems absurd to me, but that is the reason I said something like that. Aside from that, we are not even going to discuss the consequences. What a load of lies. Not a single penny is due to them. Now, even over here, I did suggest that the Securities and Exchange Commission has wasted more than 3 years' worth of work attempting to argue a dispute with Ripple that will never finish. The most unfortunate aspect of this conflict is that it resulted in the squandering of billions of dollars in taxpayer funds. For the record, I did not even mention the $15 billion in damages that were incurred by investors in XRP, and that was just from the announcement. The legal fees that Ripple paid totaled more than $200 million. But just think about the chances that were lost. Just try to picture what those $200 million could have been used for if they had been put to better use. One of the most disheartening aspects of this whole situation is the contention that the entire conflict was fought to safeguard investors. One thing that I have observed throughout this conflict that has lasted for almost 4 years is that a corrupt government agency is attempting to force a NASA industry into a corner. At the same time as there is a clear motivation to select winners and losers, there is also someone who is being paid. The fact that we are still in the thick of this situation after more than 3 years is a sad reality. As we were briefed, the crypto asset is nothing more than a single line of code. The investment contract is effectively represented by the token itself. This is a statement made by the court. To be honest, I am not entirely certain that I have ever heard from the SEC that the token is a representation of the investment contract. With regard to the investment contract, the asset itself is the embodiment of the contract, and we continue to maintain a consistent position. For the premise that the Securities and Exchange Commission has contradicted itself, I would disagree. To summarize, the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) considers the cryptocurrency token itself to be a security because it is a security. Furthermore, these two assertions do not contradict one another. In addition, listen, this is precisely what is taking place in this situation. Take a look at the hearing for Coinbase. This is the exact statement that the SEC is making. Additionally, the hearing for Binance is taking place right now. To put it simply, this is completely absurd. This is precisely the reason why there is no progress being made in the crypto space. This is precisely the reason why, when we look at the cryptocurrency market as it exists today, there are simply no regulations, no norms, and no clarity in the United States regarding cryptocurrency. The case against Ripple has been resolved. However, for certain people, the fair notice defense is still a viable option. In light of the fact that the industry has become aware that crypto asset securities are subject to US securities regulations, the SEC references the Dow study from 2017. After 7 years, the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) extends its apologies to a federal judge who is certainly a person of at least ordinary intellect for the confusion that it caused by using the term that is inherently vague. In addition, if we take a closer look at this, we may access the Dow report from the SEC. In accordance with Section 21A of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) published the report of the investigation in July of 2017. In the Dow report, the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) indicated that certain crypto asset securities are subject to the laws that govern securities in the United States. In this particular instance, the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has made it clear that when it uses the term crypto asset securities, it is not referring to the crypto asset itself as the security. This court has also made this point clear. However, in order to avoid any confusion, the Political Action Committee PAC has stopped using the shorthand phrase, and the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC expresses sorrow for any confusion that it may have caused in this regard. MTD Order at 1920. As the court clarified that the subject of the investment contract is a crypto asset, the defendants appear to contend that even if the 10 crypto assets were issued and sold as securities during the initial coin offerings ICOs, they do not remain securities into eternity. This line of reasoning is not being advanced by the SEC, that the marketing and economic reality of the 10 crypto assets that are at issue in secondary markets have not changed in any significant way under Howey, and that they continue to be marketed and sold as investment contracts, are the charges that the Securities and Exchange Commission CC has made in relation to these assets. To put it simply, this is absurd. And over here, the top legal officer of Coinbase cited this piece of information and stated that the SEC is sorry for any confusion that it may have caused, by making the assertion, which is not true, that tokens themselves are securities on multiple occasions. The astonishing representation that can be found in footnote 6 of the revised complaint that the SEC Gov filed against Binance is as follows. I really hope that Stuart Alderoty is able to have a good night's sleep tonight. As soon as he opens his eyes and sees this, his skull is on the verge of exploding. And I will state it once more somehow, transactions involving ETH have altered in a meaningful way that the 10 crypto assets have not changed in order to elude the agency's grasp. How is it? That information is reportedly reserved for the SecGov, and the rest of us will only learn it if and when we are subjected to legal action. At the very end of the night, the SecGov steadfastly maintained that tokens themselves are securities. This is evident from the extensive record of the regulation by enforcement campaign that has been going on. The court should not be misled. As for us, we have over here. What? I'm sorry? I mean, in the very first line of their complaint against Ripple, the SecGov made the straightforward assertion that XRP itself is a securities. What a shameless act. In addition, have a look at this. As early as 2013 and continuing up until the present day, defendants have sold more than 14.6 billion units of the digital asset security known as XRP in exchange for cash or other considerations totaling more than $1.38 billion. This was done in order to fund Ripple's operations and benefit Larson and Garlinghouse simultaneously. Absolutely, that is the topic of contention from the year 2020. In all seriousness, they are referring to it as a security. I am completely taken aback. I had no idea that gaslighting could even be this intense. I was completely unaware of this thing. Indeed, it is so. To put it simply, this is absurd. With this particular agency, the entire market is engaged in a contentious conflict. This is a complete and utter mystery. In addition, we have Stuart Alderoty once more speaking to us here. According to Paul Gruel, he is quoting, "As a result, the Securities and Exchange Commission CC has now admitted that the term crypto asset security is a fabrication. 2. The Securities and Exchange Commission CC requires evidence of a collection of contracts, expectations, and understandings in order to demonstrate that a crypto asset security is an investment contract. I believe that it is time for the governor of the Securities and Exchange Commission to acknowledge that the organization has become a twisted pretzel of contradictions. Be not concerned. I recently modified your logo for you. Listen, there is absolutely no way that the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC could ever win against a significant number of these enterprises in the area. With that being said, while we are discussing Ripple and XRP, of course, in my opinion, the Securities and Exchange Commission has never had a case against Ripple or even XRP. For this reason, I believe that the case is completely absurd. It's done and done. It has been completed, and even Stuart has already stated that the matter is done, and this is precisely the reason why I do believe that you are aware of this. The path that leads forward is currently being paved. There is the announcement of the stable coin. There are all these adjustments that are being announced, and Ripple is putting all of its attention on institutions because, as far as I can tell, they are even aware that there is no other outcome but a big victory. This particular case has been resolved for some time now. I find this to be completely ridiculous, irrational, moreover 1,300 days after the event. Merely have the Securities and Exchange Commission's SEC say, hey, we are sorry for any confusion that we have, invite it. I find this to be really hilarious. I find it just so funny. And it is plain to observe that a significant number of these individuals are stating that the laws are unambiguous. This is Gary Gensler. I mean, to put it simply, this is a moment that the SEC has completely and utterly dropped the ball. We have been hearing for well over 4 years and more that the laws are clear, that everything is transparent, and that you are welcome to come in and meet with us so that we can discuss the matter. And what do you think? This only goes to show how disorganized, stupid, and confusing it is to be a firm operating in this sector. They are looking to squander time. To the benefit of the large incumbents, they intend to waste money, and this is all for their own gain. Every single thing that we have been hearing about the SEC in general. The Ripple and XRP scenario is not even the only thing that we are discussing here. Specifically, we are discussing the Binance case, which is also known as the Coinbase case. The Securities and Exchange Commission has been pushing for all of these ludicrous cases. However, following a heated debate that lasted for well over 4 years, the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC has finally confirmed that cryptocurrency assets are not securities. Take note. In the event that you lose money, you can